there, I'm Elisa. Welcome back. This video is lesson 2, and we're going to introduce the left hand. So lesson 1 was all about the right hand and bowing and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's really important to practice these things individually because our brains can only handle so much at one time. So it's important to take on a manageable cognitive load, and the cognitive load is how much you're thinking about at once. So the idea behind focusing on the right hand is to really get that going, get that into our muscle memory, get it really comfortable. And then when we add the left hand, we're just so much more stable that way. So that's one of the main reasons why I recommend in the beginning just sort of giving it a lot of time on the right hand before we start to worry about the left hand. So today we are now doing the left hand. So that's very exciting. Here we are. Got lots of rosin on there. This is my instrument, and I don't have tapes on my instrument. I didn't make that commitment to do that for you today. Sorry about that, but I do recommend putting tapes on the instrument, and most music shops that are renting or selling these types of instruments can help you do that. There are also some like kind of tape on things that you can get just to sort of stick on there. But in the beginning, it's really difficult to know where to put your finger. So that's what the tapes are for. So, okay, let's talk about some setup stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and put my bow down. So when I say setup, that I'm really talking about how the instrument is interacting with your body, how it's sitting on your shoulder and things like that. So this is really important to get down and to sort of experiment with, with your shoulder rest. I do recommend people getting a shoulder rest of some kind. Doesn't need to be fancy, but just something is good. And like the angle at which you put the shoulder rest on the instrument, and let me just actually show you that really quick. A good way to put it on is to really hold the instrument carefully and sort of press it into your body here. It's like I've really got it in my arm. You don't want to drop it. And then, sliding it on this way here. And most shoulder rests have sort of adjustable feet and things like that. So basically there's a lot of variety here. You can have it higher this way or higher the other way. I don't know if you can tell here, it's like sort of more angled this way versus angled that way, or more straight across, but everybody's different in terms of like what shapes will work for their shoulder. So that's something that you want to work out with your teacher or parent or something like that. So I typically recommend maybe a slight lean this way towards this. I think this is called the bout of the instrument here. So a slight angle is usually pretty good. And basically we're just filling up that gap between, your neck and your jaw and your collarbone here. So I think I mentioned this in the other video, but I'm going to go ahead and say it again. So when we bring the instrument to our shoulder, ideally the shoulder rest is just about the size of the shape of the space between the instrument and your body. And you just place the instrument on your shoulder and, trying to keep a really nice square, center of gravity here. And then look at the scroll and just drop your head down and let your jaw sort of like be cradled by the chin rest here. So ideally we can just relax our head down, and the weight of our head should be enough to keep the instrument upright. And we really don't want to be squeezing a lot with our shoulder. Like a very slight raise of the shoulder could potentially be okay, but ideally you want it to be as relaxed down as possible here. So having a big enough shoulder rest here with like long feet and stuff can help. So anyway, figure that out. And then ideally you can hold it just voila, no hands. That's sort of what we want here. And mainly because we need our left hand to be free to move about quickly and be very agile and things like that. So, okay, that's that setup. That's what we're talking about for there. And then now let's get into hand shape. So when we talk about hand shape, it's like what our hands look like in certain positions for different things that we do when we're playing. And hand shape is really, really important. And you can practice in front of a mirror, and that will help you, because a lot of times you kind of know what you're supposed to do, but it's different. It's hard to actually do it. So practicing in front of a mirror can really save you a lot of time and effort. So I do recommend that. It's one of those things that was recommended to me, and then I just never did it because I don't know why. I just didn't. Maybe it feels weird, but it's okay. Look in the mirror, look at yourself and your beautiful instrument and your beautiful face and all this cool stuff that you're doing, and like, don't be afraid of it. It's really good for you. Okay, so when we're putting our hand, our left hand, to the instrument, we want to make some contact here, primarily in this spot, sort of in this knuckle here, and then on the thumb. And there are different sort of locations for the thumb on the neck here. But depending on your hand size, I err on the side of like lower, because you don't want to be squeezing like this. Like, you should have a little bit of a V happening. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to give you like a little V shape there, but basically I would have normally like a tape here, a first finger tape. So the finger numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. The thumb doesn't have a number because we don't really play with our thumb in terms of fingered notes. So find that first finger line tape and bring your knuckle to it. And then we're going to curve our fingers down onto the string. And having very curved fingers is super important, which is why I refer back to I think the second practice video of lesson 1, where I go through the finger exercises practice, which is really awesome for getting those fingers nice and curved and strong. That's super important for the left hand as well as the right hand. So we're gonna put our fingers on the string, and we don't want to squeeze really hard, but we do need to put enough pressure and weight onto the string so that the string is fully making contact, like with your finger and the fingerboard. This black part here is the fingerboard. So the string has to be firm against the fingerboard in order to sound. Sometimes if you get like kind of wispy kind of sounds, that can mean that you're not pressing down enough. I'm hesitant to use the word press, but like, you know, basically you just want to have your finger curved and use the natural weight of your arm to sink down into the string. So that's generally, this is sort of the idea here. And we don't want to be having our wrist coming in. This is sort of the classic iconic thing where hold an egg in your hand, pretend there's an egg here or something like that, where you want to have space. And that's true. But too much space is also not good. So ideally we want to find ergonomic shapes for our body when we're playing this, you know, pretty difficult instrument. And so sometimes I like to mime things. So, because we're trying to bring it back to something that's natural. So here in the left hand, kind of a nice exercise is to just sort of like put your hand in the place where it is, you know, when you're playing, but without the instrument. So like hold your instrument, your right hand, and then just go ahead and like put your hand there and like relax it down. Do like kind of a floppy flop kind of thing, and like let it just be relaxed. And like if you do that, like you do kind of make like a natural curved finger kind of shape. And when I'm doing this, also my elbow is coming forward. And I would say that's one of the tricky things about this, is that it's not super natural to be having your elbow forward, but that's a pretty important thing so that we can reach things. So bring the elbow up and bring that elbow forward a little more than probably what you're used to or what's comfortable for now, but you do get used to it eventually. And just like feel a little bit what is natural here. And then sort of do it again, but this time with the instrument. We're going to put the instrument up and let the hand just make contact at that first finger tape, and just let the fingers kind of come down, and don't worry about where they are, but just let them relax and make contact on the string. And go ahead and do that on all strings just to get a feel for it. And as you'll notice, the elbow needs to come more forward as you're coming to the lower strings. On that C string in particular, you gotta come forward quite a bit, and then it's less and less as you go up to that A string. So if you have tapes for 1, 2, and 3, that would be awesome. And sorry, 1, 2, high 2 is sort of what we say, and is usually what people start with. So 1, high 2, 3 here. So go ahead and put the fingers down, and we're going to focus on the D string to start. The string names are C, G, D, and A. Those are the note names. So we're going to put our fingers down on that D string, no bow, and we're just going to just put the fingers down and sink down. And you may notice that like my instrument's coming down just a little bit, and that's like sort of okay. You don't want to do it too extreme and pull it down and drop it, of course, but like there needs to be a little bit of weight coming down because we don't want to be squeezing. We're relaxing into the instrument here. So 1, 2, 3 on the string. And don't worry about that 4th finger just yet. Usually that comes later and is a little bit tricky for everybody. But so we're going to focus on 1, 2, and 3 for now. So just go ahead, put them on the strings. Let's do the G string now. 1, 2, 3. And hopefully you have those tapes and can just sort of feel what that's like. And you should see the string coming down and making contact with that fingerboard each time we do this. And your fingers need to be uber curved, like uber more curved probably than you've ever curved them in your life if you haven't played another instrument. It's kind of one of those things that's interesting where it's almost unanimous that for most instruments you have to have curved fingers, which I think is really interesting. So if you've played other instruments, maybe this is a little bit familiar, but if not, it's okay. But do your finger exercises because that will speed up your learning process. But basically your fingers need to be so curved. Like if I give you like a view this way, let's see if I can turn around here. My fingers are so curved that, it's like I'm leaning over to the next string. I'm so arched here. So if your fingers are looking a little bit more flat, we're working our way up towards the top. And, you're going to get some calluses. You're going to get some lines on those fingers and get them nice and tough. And that's all part of the process here and part of the fun. So we just did that for the G and the D. And now let's do it for the C string. And you'll notice that the C string is quite a bit thicker. And so it might feel a little bit more challenging to get the string to come all the way down. So just sink down and try to relax into it. Here, and then now on the A string, and just feel how each string is a little bit different. Okay, so now big moment. We're going to take that bow and we're going to go ahead and play around here. And so I'm going to just sort of recommend that we for a minute just walk up and down the string, again starting with that D string because I think it's the easiest string out of the bunch. So just go ahead and while we're doing this, we want to simplify our thoughts and focus on one thing. So right now, our focus is in the left hand. So for the right hand, go ahead and just don't do anything too fancy. Don't worry about the upper half and the lower half and just play. Just kind of relax and like let the bow just sort of go wherever it wants to go. It's okay. Hopefully we've practiced the right hand enough that we've got some kind of muscle memory for that. So, okay, here we go. We're gonna just put our fingers down on the string. Let's go for it. First finger. Nice curved finger. I'm gonna go back to that open string. I kind of like to go back and forth for a little bit here in the beginning as we're just getting a feel for it. Let's try that second finger. High 2. just being reminded, if you have one of these handy dandies, this is a great time to break out your tuner. There's all these kinds of phone apps and things like that where you can use a tuner. But very good to have one, you know, on your stand or have your phone there. And as you're playing, go ahead, look at it. Make it green. In the beginning, this is really important. Okay, so break out that tuner and, you know, don't be afraid to like stay on one note for a long time, okay? I'm just sort of explaining this, running through this stuff with you, but on your own practice, like do take some time. And some of the fingers are harder than others, so maybe the third finger needs to be practiced a little bit more than that first finger or vice versa kind of thing. Okay, so let's do the G string now. So I'm just gonna play, I'm gonna walk up the string, 0, 1, 2, 3, and go ahead, play with me. And we're just getting a feel for it right now, okay? So here we are on that G string, starting with the open string. Okay, so just walking up the strings, okay? Let's do it on the C string now. I think it's good to get a feel for all the strings in the beginning. Sometimes people like to hang on one string for like a super long time, but I think it's fun to kind of explore the instrument entirely. So let's go ahead and do that C string. It's gonna be a little more challenging because it's so heavy and kind of a thick string. First finger. Feel nice and heavy here. Curve that finger. Second finger. Third finger. Okay, great. And now let's go to that A string, the top string here. So when you have this A string, the first finger is like kind of squished here, down here, this end part here, this is called the nut. So our first finger should feel like pretty squishy, because it's just very, very curvy. So just be mindful of that. You know, and we're making contact with that knuckle here, and then the string is like right there. So it's just all happening in a very small space here. So let's just go ahead and try it. A string, just walking up the string, same thing. As you're doing this, don't be afraid to slide your finger around a little bit and try to get the note in tune. It's really important to experiment with that, and I'll demonstrate that in just a minute. Okay, so let's say when you're doing this type of thing, you put your finger down and it's like a bit too high. Like, it's good to just slide around, because you're trying to teach your fingers where the notes are and develop muscle memory for the spacing. So like, for example, if I put my first finger down, it's like, it's pretty high. I'm gonna slide in tune, and then try again. Or if it's too low, okay? So doing that as you're practicing is really, really important. Okay, so that up and down thing that we just did, where I'm just playing on the string 0, 1, 2, 3, And it's good to walk down too, so. And then back down on the string. And I will make an accompaniment practice video with this so that you've got a little bit more clarity there. And then another great exercise is to, maybe after you're a little bit more, you've done the just plain Jane walking up and down a little bit, is to alternate with open string. And this is like probably one of those like super classic things that you hear vocalists do. Da, 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 da. I'm sure you've heard stuff like that. But anyway, so it's just open, 2, open, 3. So as a demo, so you just alternate putting your finger down with playing an open string rather than just going right to the next fingered note here on your string. So I can demonstrate that one more time. Open, 1, open, 2, open, 3, open. And then you do that on all the strings. So let's just do it. G string. And then the C string. Open. 2. Open. 3. Open. And then last but not least, we got this A string. Open first finger. Open. 2. Open. 3. So as you're playing and as you're doing these things, be sure to constantly be checking in with yourself, maybe looking in the mirror, and just open that wrist. Like I guarantee you, everyone who's ever picked up this instrument is doing this. It's like for a while, and then you kind of can relax a little bit and open it up. As violists, and I'm a pretty petite person. I'm about 5 feet tall, so the instrument is pretty big for me, and I have to play a little bit more with my wrist a little bit more in because of the length of my arm. So I'm just saying that because for violin, you typically will have a little bit more space between the wrist and the instrument than on the viola. It's okay to have a little bit of relaxing in as long as there's no squeezing and as long as there's still some airspace between the instrument. But if the ergonomic spacing is there and the relaxation is there, like that is the goal. So just keep that in mind. Overextending and kind of getting this like sharp wrist kind of shape is not great. It's not healthy. It causes a lot of tendonitis and stuff like that. So just things to keep in mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and make you a practice video now so that it's a little easier for you to follow all this stuff that I just threw in your direction. And thank you so much for watching. And if you like this, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.